Daddy, thanks very much for your time. How are you doing? We haven't heard from you.
I'm doing okay. I'm doing good.
And where have you been hiding?
Here in Texas, College Station.
We haven't heard from you in a while.
Oh yeah, I know it's been a while. So I'm going through some challenges this whole year. So I'm just hanging in here. You know about my injury and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been the same old news. So yeah.
You still injured?
Yeah.
The injury you suffered about 2 years ago hasn't been.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago. But yeah, it's still there because it doesn't go away, and I don't get much attention on it. So it just comes and goes. So according to a trainer that I used to see, he said, with how it is, if we don't deal with it and I rest, then it rests. So as soon as I start training, then it comes again. So it's just on and off.
Wow. What would it take for it to be treated?
Come again.
What would it take for it to be treated? Because it's been 2 years.
According to so I did
a scan
now. Yes, thank you. So I did a scan, and then according to them, I have a fluid in my Achilles that is not supposed to be there. So the more I train, the more the fluids start to get hard. Right. So the more it get hard, it will reach a stage where it will pop. So that is when it will cause a tear. Right. So it was fluid, and then it will cause a tear. So that, and then if it does, then that will be the end of my career. Right. Because right now I'm not in school anymore, and I'm not working, and I don't get money from anywhere. So I don't want to reach that stage. So that's why I was forced to, just rest for maybe this year. So I'm just resting it, and I try to do some exercise on my own. I don't see any trainer or anything. So
you just mentioned two things. You're not working. You're out of school. How do you go? You are injured. How does that happen?
It's by the grace of God.
Why is it by the grace of God?
I'm a Ghanaian, right? I'm a Ghanaian, and you know how we do it. I've been here here at A&M for 4 years, and I've been feeding off of my scholarship, like what I've been getting throughout the whole 4 years here at A&M. So that's what I'm still feeding on. It will reach a stage where if I don't get the job that I'm working on to get, then I'll be broke maybe soon. But that's what I'm going through right now.
No, Deborah, you've taken the conversation completely to a different level, because how I was envisaging this conversation, you've just taken it to a different level. But I'll come back to the genesis of your life story, because that is actually where I would have liked us to start from. But you're saying stuff that are quite interesting for me, where that if your scholarships expires, what is the alternative for you? And what has been the conversation with Ghana Athletics, which is the athletics governing body for the country, the institution that you have been a part of and won the flag of Ghana, flown it high at major competitions. So what have they been saying with this injury? Because to be injured for 2 years is serious.
Yeah. So first of all, we come here for school, right? And being here for school is kind of like having a contract with the school. So you just come here to go to school and then compete for the university. So after you're done, your contract is done. Like whatever you have with them is done. So then that is where I would say life begins, right? So that is where maybe after school they start looking for a job with your certificate. So that was what I was going to do, because I remember having an interview with you. That was my last year in school. I remember having an interview. I think it was you or Fentio, where I said after school I'm done with track, because that's where most of us do.
You and I had that conversation, and you told me you were going to quit, and I asked the question, because you said without support you would quit, and I was like, what if you get the support?
Yeah. Cause so after school I was going to quit because that's what almost everyone here, not almost, like all the athletes here after school they quit and they look for jobs, and that's how everyone else is living their life. So yeah, I was gonna do the same thing, and then that was when the support thing came in. I was like, oh yeah, if I get the support, then why not? I'm going to continue doing the track because I love the sport. And then I think my last year was going quite well. Even though we have ups and downs in sports. So yeah, I remember talking to the GA president, Mr. Bauer, and then he also said, no, don't stop and stuff like that. You're gonna get the support, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay. So how it is when you're being promised, kind of. So imagine me telling you that, hey, I'm hungry again, and you promised to give me food. I had my hope in you, thinking that, hey, let me just relax because you're gonna get me food. Because at this point, there's nothing I can do. I can't work and then be competing at the same time, because this doing track is like a full-time thing, So I wouldn't be able to be competing. It would be professionally and then be working at the same time. So that was the reason why I was interested in this whole support thing. So fast forward to after school, I went to the World Champ. So it was at the World Champ that I got injured. I didn't have no injury after school because before
the one in Budapest.
I think it's the thing started at World Champs in Eugene.
In Eugene, okay.
Yeah, because after school, the school will make sure that if we want to know if you have injuries, and they will want to treat it before before you're done. So they give you like a forms to fill out, like if you have injuries or stuff like that, and they'll take care of it. And then they're done with you. But I had no injuries. It was at Eugene that I got injured. My Achilles started. So yeah, so that's been it. I've been battling it, and I remember. So right after Eugene was the Commonwealth Games. I think it was a month after, right? I think the Commonwealth Games was a month after.
So the World Champs was in June, July, and the Commonwealth Games was in August.
Oh yes, okay. So yeah, so I came back and I still wasn't seeing the trainer because our trainers doesn't allow us to see them. Like once you're done with school, we don't get the chance to see them again. You can only train here, but you can't, you can't get treatment from them. So I was just here doing my own thing. Sometimes I even tend to massage myself. I won't lie to you, I do it. And the only thing I could do was to buy a massage gun and then be using it. So talking about this whole thing, going to the Commonwealth Games, it got to a point where I even thought I wasn't going to go. So I even stopped training. I stopped training for like a week, thinking that I wasn't going to get the visa to go. So I was just there, and then because it was delaying. So God being so good, I got the visa, and then at that moment they bought the ticket for me to go. I got delay, layovers and stuff like that. But finally, I got to the Commonwealth Games. I was still injured. And I can promise you, I was on the plane and I was massaging myself and then doing some, rolling, balls on my feet and stuff like that. Just to, it was kind of to help my own self, because at that moment I had nobody, So I was doing all that. I got there, and I remember Madame Salah would be my witness, and Abigail Quatin was also there. I was struggling. I think the qualifying, I was the first jumper. So my first jump, I made I think I was the first person to qualify, so I left to relax my leg and stuff like that. So after I went to get a massage to get treatment, it was just a massage kind of thing. So, and then I got to rest it the next day. And then on the final day, how our adrenaline went, during the main competition. Because it was at the main competition where I was like, okay, at this point I have to put everything that I have, to pour that in the competition. So all you have to do, forget about the pain and then go for it. So doing it, I remember even during my approaches, it was hurting. So I remember telling Madame Salah that, hey, this is how I'm feeling the pain. And then she was like, so what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'm here. I have to do it. So I qualified, and then I'm at a stage where I can come like top 3. So then, like, why not? I won't stop. I will do it. And then that was the last competition of the year, my last competition of the year. So I was going to pour everything I have in the competition. So My first jump was a 694. So after that 694, I remember Madam started telling me to stop because she thinks that a 694 can, do magic. So then I was like, I don't know, but I won't stop. I came all the way here to do this. So this being my last competition of the year, I'll continue to do it and then maybe get treatment after, because if I have from August, I have September, October, November, December. So then, I'll probably get help, you know, before the next season. So I didn't quit. I did the whole 6 jumps because, one thing about the jumps is if any of the athletes also got to jump the 694, then they'll use the next jump, to determine who wins or who is, in front of who and stuff like that. So then I was like, that is the main reason why I decided not to quit, but then do the whole 6 jumps. This was for me, but then I was doing it for the country as well. I had to kill myself to do all this. So I did, and then I remember after I was supposed to go get the medal. I think that was when the first time I met Mr. The GOC.
Benjamin Mensah.
Yes, that was the first time I met him. I heard the name before, but then I not met him in person. So that was the first time I met him in person. So we talked about like what I'm going through and stuff like that, So I remember he told me that, so if this is what I'm going through, then after the games we can go to Ghana, because I was supposed to go from Birmingham back to the US.
Okay.
So they had to change my ticket to go to Ghana and then back to the US, so I can get treatment. There's some form of treatment, and if not, then they'll probably find something for me to come back and then get the treatment myself. You understand? So that was the whole thing. That was what happened. So I was so shocked when they said like he didn't promise me or something like that. Cause like I won't lie on a great man like that. So that was what happened. So
he let us.
I went to Ghana.
He never promised you anything.
So he promised that. Okay, so the whole thing was to take me home to get treatment. And if I don't get to get the treatment, then they'll find something, I won't say money or whatever, for me to come here and get the treatment here in the US. Right. So then we all know what that meant. So we went to Ghana. I didn't hear from them. I think we were supposed to even go to see the president. We didn't get to see the president. I was supposed to even go back home, but because of the back and forth, not knowing when we were going to see the president, I think I only went home to spend, I think, a day with my dad and then back to Accra and then left. So that was what happened. And then I came back. I didn't hear from them again until the next year. I qualified for the World Championship, so then I had to continue training. So the whole thing of my training, I got to a point where I'll train today and I'll be out for like the next 3-4 days. And then, the pain will go down a little bit, and then I'll start the training again. And then I'll be out for like 2-3 days, and then train again, then be out. Like it was just back and forth like that. So I qualified for the how do you call it, the world champs anyway. So that was like, okay, at this point I'm still gonna go, and I'm not getting the support that I needed. So I have to do something to help myself. So what I decided to do was that was when I did the scan, and then it showed that, hey, this is what is wrong with your Achilles. So I remember I started paying. I changed my phone. Like I want to send a screenshot of what I used to pay, which was $55 every session, and I was doing it 3 times a week. So imagine doing it 3 times a week. I did it for a month, and then I was like, I'm not working anyway, so how am I going to do this? So then I had to stop. So I stopped, and then I started seeing this trainer that I used to see at World Champs in Eugene. So I used to see that guy, and then he was charging me $35. So I was like, okay, this is good, at least, But then again, I did it for a while, and then same old thing, resources like money, I couldn't do it. So it got to a point where he was like, okay, you pay me $100, and then I'll treat you for I think 3 weeks or so. I still had a long way to go, like all the way to I think the World Champs was in August, right? Maybe July or August. So I still had a long way to go. So how long am I going to continue doing this? I was paying my own rent, like, car insurance and stuff like that. So then how am I going to do this on my own? So then I stopped going to this man, and I started doing the exercises that I used to do with him. So I started doing it on my own, You understand? So that was how I was helping myself at that point. So yeah, so back to the injury. So it was just back and forth. Like it was going down a little bit. But whenever I do something intense, that is when, the pain hit. So then we went to the work champs. Like I said, the pain was still there. I still had to do what I had to do, and it didn't go well. So yeah, that is it. That is the whole thing. That is my story.
Uh, I still want to take here. As at the time you mentioned that you spoke to Bauer, he was the chief executive officer of Ghana Athletics. He became president just last year prior to the world champs in Budapest. But one thing I want to understand is when he spoke to you and asked you not to quit, what were some of the things he said Ghana Athletics would do for you so that you would be able to take care of yourself and not quit the sport to look for something to do to take care of yourself? What were some of the things he put on the table for you?
I won't lie. He didn't specify what they were going to do. Like he didn't really say that, hey, we're going to do this. But then it was, just mentioning the support. But I won't lie. He didn't really say like what kind of support I was going to get. But then again, I also knew that this whole year we're going to be getting the Olympic solidarity thing.
Not also ask what is the alternative for you.
Okay, so another thing was I think after the Commonwealth Games, after they won the 694, I even got a manager who decided to manage me, and we were even thinking that we're going to get contract and stuff like that. But then I remember I had a agent who said I think the sponsors wanted me to repeat the jump. So that was another reason why I kept pushing. I tried last year to see if I was going to be able to repeat the jump so I can maybe get a contract and stuff like that. But then it didn't work out. So I wasn't solely, focusing on them to give me the help. I was also doing something, to support myself, but it just didn't work.
No, I get that. But if Ghana Athletics comes to tell you that, Debbie, don't quit, keep on going, then you need to ask them, you need to get understanding, you need to get some level of assurance that if I don't quit, then this is the alternative for me. Didn't you ask for that from Ghana Athletics?
That's what I'm saying, that so if I tell you that I'm hungry and you tell me that you're going to give me food, then it doesn't matter what food you give me. I'll eat, because at that moment I'm so hungry. So all I need is food, So you telling me you're gonna give me food, I'll put all my trust in you, thinking that you're gonna give me food. So it doesn't matter what food you're gonna give. So that was the whole thing. So all I knew was I'm gonna get support. So this whole support thing was gonna be money. Let's not beat around the bush. It was gonna be money. So I didn't know what other support I was gonna get from them. So I think that's why I didn't even bother asking.
So when you got injured in Eugene, did you tell Ghana Athletics that you were injured?
Oh yeah, they knew.
So they knew that
I didn't have to tell them. They knew, because I was seeing the trainers back and forth even before the jump. So I remember I will send you a picture where I went with my coach. I used my own money to buy some some medicine, some medications to put on my leg. I got one that had to numb the pain so I could jump at the World Champs. I even had to use the same medication to numb my leg to jump at the World Championship last year. So, like I said, I'm doing something to help myself. Like when I feel like, hey, I have to do this, and I do it. But it just wasn't going the way I wanted it to.
So when the Ghana Olympic Committee, its president Benjamin Mensah also told you that let's change your ticket and bring you to Ghana. They changed your ticket, brought you to Ghana. You didn't hear from them. Did they get in touch?
No.
Why?
I don't know. I remember, so I don't like pushing people, right? So if you decide to help me, I can be, we can be talking, and then, maybe once in a while I'll say something about it. And no, but no, I won't push you, because I think it's your job. Like, that's what you're doing. You're, in this sports industry. So if you say that you're gonna do this for this person, then I would say it's your responsibility to help me, though. But then if you've decided to do it for me, then whenever we're talking, you know that, hey, this is Deborah that I'm talking to, and then this is the same person that I promised to do something for. You understand? So we had a long way to go. So I wasn't gonna be on your neck that, hey, you promised to do this for me, so why haven't you done it? Stuff like that. So I was just waiting on them, like, on their own times to do what they are willing to help me with. So that was it.
But we are referring to your health here, Debbie.
I know.
How did you get back to the US? When they changed your flight to Ghana, was it from Birmingham to Accra back to the US?
It was supposed to be from the US to Birmingham and then back. But then they changed it to go to Ghana and then probably see the president, maybe get treatment, and then come back to the US.
So they got your flight back to the US?
Yeah, they booked my ticket back to the US, but none of the whatever we went to Ghana to do happened. So,
but there was a monetary package for the medals won at the Birmingham games. Did you get your package?
What package?
There was supposed to be a monetary package of, like, was it $1,000 or $1,500?
So whatever money we were supposed to get, we were given the money. Yes. And I think that was the only money that I got.
That was the only one
I was expecting. I think the only one that I was expecting that broke my heart would be I think they sent 2 ministers to come to the game. So on the normal, they would just come and then give whatever they're supposed to give and then go away. But then this time they came and then they asked about an interview I did with Fentio at the World Champs where.
Oh yeah, you're going to Budapest, yeah, right?
That is Budapest.
Okay.
I think that was after my jump where I said something about Ghana promising, because I didn't mention anybody's name, but I remember Fentio asking and I said, oh yeah, Ghana promised, because I didn't want to, So then they came to ask me who did promise me, and I said, oh, it was GOC, it's the new Mensa. And they said, well, they were wondering like who promised me and stuff like that. So, so I remember 2 of the ministers came and they sat us down to ask us individually what we needed help with. So I told them that throughout my whole 4 years here at SNM, I had not altered an interview where I mentioned, that I needed help with anything. Because whatever I needed, my school, provided. So I never had an interview where I spoke about, needing support or something. So then me talking about it now means like I really need it. So after whatever we talked about, the discussion, I heard they gave the other 2 some money, if I can recall. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I heard it was, I think, 8,000 US. So so I was even thinking that, maybe I'll be called to, maybe also get something. So I was just there, but I didn't hear anything from them. So I remember I went downstairs. I think it was the same day or the next day. So I saw Mr. Bauer. I went to sit close to him and I asked him, and hey, I heard that so and so, so I'm also gonna get something. And then, to be honest, he said, no, because I'm not gonna get the money because I got injured when I was in school. So that means my school's supposed to take care of me or something, right? So then I was so I was down, like I wasn't expecting that from them. So I was so shocked. So I was like, oh really? Yeah. So I was like, oh really? I didn't get some of the money because I got injured whilst I was in school. But then Japan got injured that year. Dad was also in school, so he also got injured whilst he was in school because I remember his season was really tough, stuff like that. So like, what happened? Like, why me? So I think whilst I was having that discussion with him, Coach Andrew came around and said he think it's because they said it's because uh, it was the GOC, which is Mr. Nino Mensah, that promised me that money. So they were going back home to ask him about it. And if it was true that he promised me the money, then he'll be the one to give me money or something like that. So that was what happened. So I remember they came home, and then I had a call with Mr. Bauer where he said the ministers had Mr. Nino Mensah had said he never promised me anything. So I was like, okay.
I'm confused. If you got injured while you were in school,
I didn't get injured when I was in school. I got injured at work. So it was
assuming without admitting that you got injured while in school, and the country needs your services, would your country say that because you got injured in school, they wouldn't treat you to be available to compete?
That was what happened. So I can't tell. I think that's.
I'm a bit thinking about that. The president of Ghana Athletics would tell you that you got injured in school, so if they were giving money to other athletes to go and treat themselves, you shouldn't be giving some. I'm a bit confused. So, what actually brought us here? Why did this happen? Do you have an idea?
I have no idea. So to me, I think I don't know, but this whole thing had to do with the interview that I did. Where I said stuff. I didn't even say much. I only talked about the promise, that I got, which wasn't fulfilled. That was the only thing I talked about. So I don't know if it was based off of the interview.
But when you say you didn't say much, does it mean that you could have said more?
No, it was because my whole thing was about my injury and then how I've been out of school it's been 2 years now, and I haven't done nothing for myself. Because of this whole thing, I changed my visa. I paid for my thing to, my own visa. I had to change my visa from a student visa to, the visa that I'm having right now. Like almost 4,000. It was my own money. It was the same money that I've been saving whilst I was here in school. So, going through this whole thing, like, it's so sad. Like, to be honest, this is so sad. I would lie to you, because going through this now, if I'm not able to compete again, or I'm just here due to my injury, I'm not able to go and come, then the visa that I spent money on is useless. So it's so sad.
Deborah, like I mentioned, this conversation has taken a different direction from the initial time take conversations that people have become used to, because we always talk about your life journey, how you started out and all that. But this conversation took me to a different dimension, quite an unexpected journey. And I will still come back to your early beginnings, but this period that you just spoke about, how challenging would you say it has been for you?
So right now, one thing with the P1 is that you can, it's for athletes. You can be traveling back and forth, you can go out of the country and then come back in and stuff like that. You can do whatever. But then you cannot work in the US with a P1 visa unless you want to work, and then the company will have to, do like a H1B, that is the work visa for you to, start working. So as of now, I'm still on the P1 visa, which doesn't allow me to work in the US. So it's not useless because I'm not competing to get money, and I'm just here paying rent, doing a lot of stuff. You know how life in the US, like, pay a lot of stuff and not working. So that is how challenging it is right now.
I don't know. This conversation is quite a touchy one. But tell me,
How would you describe your early beginnings, your early days? How were they like?
Oh, I was born in Ghana, Pristia, and I grew up there. Went to school in Takwa, Fiasema Senior High School, and then right from there, I think I wanted to. Back then, I wanted to join the military. So they used to do the sports enlistment. So they were supposed to do the sports enlistment. So that was when I started taking track and field seriously. So I was gonna do the sports enlistment and then go straight into the army because back then, right after school, I didn't know how I was gonna go to university, stuff like that. So like if that opportunity was available, I was ready to grab it. But then they kept postponing it. So throughout this whole year, as well as they kept postponing it, I remember my brother. He always discouraged me, saying that I'm wasting my time doing this whole track and field thing. So I should, go to school and stuff like that. So I told him that, hey, this whole thing is taking, it doesn't. Some people get lucky and then it work, for them, and then I won't say I'm not being lucky, but then it's a process, because I just got done with senior high school, so it was at that point that I decided to, I would say make it a full-time thing, but then, that was when I was really putting in effort to see if, I was going to be able to get better and then hopefully join those who are here in the US. So that was what happened. And then, I started doing good and then got the opportunity to come here to school too. So,
Do you remember what
excuse me?
and who covered you?
Discovery. All right. So, I went to school in Pristia for a year, and then I transferred to Shasma Senior High. I think I had talked to someone, a coach, who was willing to, help me get to Shasma Senior High School. So after school, I looked for my coach. So I didn't get anybody approaching me and telling me that, hey, I see this potential in you, blah 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 blah. So then, do track. I was the one that looked for my own coach, Coach Imano Budu. I think by then he was training some few athletes that I knew back then. So I reached out to one of them and then told I think it was a she, yeah, if she can reach out to the coach and then talk to the coach about me wanting to join them to train. So I will say I don't know if that is a discovery, but then I reached out to the coach that I want to train with him too to be able to do good and then. I don't know, but I was just doing, back in high school, we do it for fun. So in Takwa, Western region is not like it is in Western and then, Accra. It's so different in Western region. We just do it for fun and then, just move on after school, do your own thing. But after school, I decided to do it because, like I said, it wasn't even to do it like professionally, but then to be able to join the military and then, have something to do for myself. So that was it. I don't know if that was a discovery, but then I reached out to him and then, told him I wanted to join the team, to train with him, and then, get better and may possibly or hopefully join the military. So that was how it started. So I don't know if that's a discovery, but if it is, then Emmanuel. Yeah.
But did I hear you mention that you wanted to join the military?
Yes, because after school, home. My mom was the one who wanted to, to help me go to university after school. But then unfortunately, 2014, I finished high school in 2013. So 2014, she passed away. So there was no hope that I was going to go. And then my brother wanted to help though, but, he was also taking care of family and stuff like that. So I didn't want to go and then be experiencing some difficulties and stuff like that. So then I decided to focus on doing that instead.
Why military though?
Because that's what everybody else was training for.
So you were all training to get into the military?
Yeah, but everyone else was training for it. And then I remember growing up, I just do, naturally, I'm kind of masculine. So you hear people talking, hey, like you look good in this soldier uniform, da 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 da. So then, whenever I heard about that, I was like, okay, I'm interested because already, I'm getting compliments, stuff like that. So then I was willing to go. Because if not, then I have to leave the job. So then that is also like a full-time job. So then if I have the passion or, the interest, then why not do it too? So that was it.
How did you get to the States? And do you remember, before going to the States, did you do any local competitions in Ghana? What were those competitions? What were your performances like? And how did that usher you into going to the States?
Okay, so Professor Francis Dodu, that was the then GAA president, was the one that used to bring athletes into the United States. So it's only when you do good, like when you do good, or when he sees that you have the potential, he will look for a school here. So I think that was 2024. That was when my mom died. So actually, I was with my mom. I was helping to take care of my mom. She was sick. She was on her sick bed. So I was just there with them. And then we're doing the Open Championship where we travel to different.
Yeah, I remember the circuit championship that he introduced.
Yeah, so we travel to different. It's not state. It's not city. Yeah, different. Is it city? Hey. Anyway, yeah. So. So I think I had done 2 or 3, and then the last one was the one in Takrady. So I had to leave my mom, and then once I was there, I wasn't even training. I was just there taking care of my mom because sorry to say, mom is dying, and then that is not the time to be going to train and stuff like that. So then I completely stopped training just to help take care of my mom.